Hi, I'm Arlene McIntyre, Creative Director at Ventura Design, and you're listening to Shut the Front Door, a light-hearted podcast that will bring you through the front door and into the homes of influential and interesting people. Home for me is one of the most important things in my life. My career has fortunately given me the opportunity to work closely with people and to help them create a home they will cherish forever. We are delighted today to be joined by Anthea Turner, one of the UK's most loved TV presenters. Anthea has been in the spotlight for over 30 years and has presented a range of TV's most favourite shows, including GMTV, Blue Peter, and the National Lottery, and most recently, Celebrity SAS on Channel 4. After presenting the highly acclaimed BBC series Perfect Housewife and publishing a book to accompany the series, Anthea went on to publish How to Entertain in Style and Perfect Christmas, helping to establish her as the ultimate domestic goddess. Anthea resides in southwest London and is currently a regular on TV shows such as Lorraine, Jeremy Vine, and This Morning. Anthea, thank you so much for joining me today on Shut the Front Door.
It's so good to be talking to you. Especially, surprisingly, it's a beautiful day today in London. I know it's not going to last. And this morning, I went out for a run and I went past your office in London.
Oh,
yes.
Excellent.
I'm
so glad we've been able to be reopened. It's just so great to see things kind of getting back to normal.
Yes, I know. And it is like this reopening. It's just little flowers and everything is sort of popping up and people are coming out of their houses. And we hope and pray that it won't take too long for the world to start turning, but with maybe a few differences, a few little differences that are going to help us.
Yes, exactly. And did you bring Soho for a run with you, or
no? I'm looking at my French bulldog now, who actually is sort of technically speaking belongs to my fiance Mark, but he seems to have attached himself to me. Anybody who's got a French bulldog will know you don't go out for a run with them, because although they can run very fast and surprisingly fast, they stop to smell everything.
Well, gosh, and you need to learn from that.
Racing walk you could ever go on, unless you've got your phone with you and you just want to wander.
How cute. So he likes to stop and smell the roses.
Well, not so much that. It's called checking his P-mails.
Oh.
And
gotcha.
I picked that word up from the Urban Dictionary. And emails are when dogs go to lampposts, just checking which other dog has been there and left them a little message. Oh. They obviously have to leave a message as well. So it's known as P-mails.
That is hilarious. And how has life been treating you during the lockdown? Did you survive it?
Well, I've loved it. I've had the first 6 weeks of lockdown, I think, have been some of the best 6 weeks of my life. For the first time since I can't remember when, I put my foot came off it. I relaxed. There was nothing to do. Well, there was lots of things to do. Of course, there was lots of things to do. However, I just relaxed. It was like being on a long haul flight where nobody could get to you. And I realized I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten I could cook. I had forgotten I could just go out for a walk. We started planning meals. We never planned meals. We planned meals. We were having breakfast and then talking about what we're going to have for lunch and getting excited about supper and really thinking about it. And I did get banned from baking, though, because we realized that the downfall of baking is eating. and the COVID pounds were piling on. But I cleaned the loft out. Honestly, our loft is the cleanest loft you've ever seen. It's all organised. Mark had, not being a bloke, I've moved house quite a lot, and I'm a constant turfer, sorter, and he hadn't done this, and so there's nothing worse than me with time on my hands. So that poor chap has had every cupboard and drawer and wardrobe and loft, you name it, it's been rifled through, sorted out. You want this, you don't want this, let's get rid of that. So we've done so much of that, and we're still speaking.
Yeah, excellent. So decluttering is so important.
So much so.
Yeah. How wonderful. So you kind of really enjoyed it. It wasn't a drag for you. You saw it all kind of from a positive perspective.
I think, well, the only way I could see it, and it depends on your situation.
Of
I
course.
am old enough. I'm not in a smaller property with three children who are being homeschooled. And some of my friends who've been in that situation, it's been difficult. I think everybody sort of found their way through it. Um, but of course, it's the first 4 to 6 weeks was a bit of an adventure. But then I think the reality of it affected all of us more or less at the same time. And it was about that sort of 6 weeks to 9 weeks in when we suddenly realized, this is our new normal and life is going to be different for the foreseeable future. My feeling is, and it's probably, I think it shows personality traits in people as well. I don't know the meaning of the word bored, so I'll always find something to do. There's always
Hmm.
something to do. I chose about, and Mark and I had, lived in separate properties and commuted between two homes, and it was a decision for us to sort of amalgamate our lives, and probably COVID did that for us. Um, so we set about that. But also, I didn't want to come out of this situation having thought I just sat at home and watched box sets. I did feel I needed to achieve something. I kickstarted my exercise, which had sort of, fallen away as it often does, doesn't it? You have great intentions, you don't actually get around to it. So I made sure I did that. I just learnt the joys, or relearnt the joys of doing a few very domestic things, really. And one of them for me was cooking. I was finding myself making lemon curd and things like that. Thinking, I've not done this for years. In fact, I don't think I've even ever made lemon curd. But I don't know. I think it's just been quite grounding for a lot of us, and and we've started to learn. Maybe we always knew it, but we needed a reminder of values.
And being able to like enjoy a meal or enjoy a walk
Yeah, and I,
or
I think home has become a value, which is obviously something that we're both interested in. But home, maybe we reevaluated home and how important it is, and how important it is to make the best of it. And it's not about a big budget, it's about making the best with what you've got and being clever.
Mhm.
And I think so many people, what bonds us all together is that we all probably spend most of our income on the roof over our head, whether we rent it or whether we bought it. We spend most of the money that we bring into the home, we end up spending on keeping that home somehow, from bills to the mortgage to the rent. But then why turn it into some homogenized dumping ground? Why not
Mm.
absolutely love it and think, I work
Yeah.
hard for this? If I work 5 days a week, at least 4 of those days, I've worked just for this house and everybody in it. So why
Yeah.
not love it more? And I think that's something that that's inherent in me. And I don't understand how not to be like that. So I've always loved home. I think it's your base, it's your bedrock, it's your foundation. It's the place that you come home to cry if it's not gone too well. You come
Mhm.
home to have a laugh. You invite your friends to your home. You go to other friends' homes, and
True.
maybe we have reevaluated that importance of home. And I would like to think, sort of looking after it, making the best.
Exactly. And if I mean, I just think homes tell stories. It tells your story as well. It's lovely when you visit someone's home and you can look at their family photographs or where they've traveled or how they style their shelves or what artwork they like, what colors they like. I just think it's a lovely insight into somebody's life.
Absolutely, that television program. It's sort of through the keyhole. Who would live in a house like this, and and I always, it's sometimes when people have got a lot of money they get a little bit too streamlined sometimes. Don't ever get
Mhm.
lost in that. It's not a show home. This is your home. There are beautiful
Yes,
hotels that we visit which look amazing. We think, oh, this is fantastic. And there are show homes that we go and see. We think, oh my goodness me, this is absolutely lovely. But a home still, you're quite right. It has to reflect the person, and it's got to tell those stories. And I always say to people when they're creating a home, oh, don't go out and buy everything new. Sort of try and have that beautiful marriage between old and new, and sentimental things that don't match anything, but they're yours
absolutely.
and you love them. And I often tell people who maybe just starting out, I said, go and have a little rummage round, in a few antique shops or over at the auctions. In fact, there's a big auction in London, which is very near to where your London office is, in Lots Road. And I'm
Mhm.
often there. In fact, I was there the
Love
other
it.
this weekend, having a little look around, and made a note of a couple of lot numbers, and thought, oh, I might come and pick that up. And so,
Mhm.
and then you've got stories, haven't you, where you found things.
Yeah, I love that. Or even I love collecting something very special whenever I travel. And
Yes,
I always think that piece would look great on the bookshelf of wherever that room might be. And that will always remind me of that trip. So I love collecting things.
apart from, and because Mark's out, he's got one of these. When people go to Africa and they come back with, those the weird the African masks. They look lovely in the village you visited. Never always look
Totally.
quite the same when you bring them home. I,
That is absolutely hilarious. I was only looking at those actually yesterday. We were looking at something. I was buying something for one of our showrooms, and we we came across, it was called the Tribal Collection, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't think this is going to work for us. But it was just like you described, something you would definitely look at maybe if you're on an exotic holiday somewhere. But I'm not sure if I could handle looking at something like that at
Yeah,
home
and
all
I,
the
I
time.
do think that's always a point to remember when you are on holiday, and you think, "Oh, that looks beautiful,"
Hmm.
and in Bali, especially when you're in one of a country in Asia or Africa, and think, now just remind yourself, just really, really think about this. Is this going to look nice in November, wherever you live, in the rain, in your environment? Not
Exactly,
always.
with the rain blowing sideways outside. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So are you absolutely dreaming about holidays at this stage?
Oh my goodness me, especially because we haven't, I mean, we had a great May, didn't we? And then it all sort of
Yes.
slowly fell apart. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, we have been to a travel agent, and I think we know what we're going to do now, and we are going to go away. And I think we all, of course, with the news just lately, with everything that's happened with Spain, and all of a sudden everybody's got to go into lockdown when they come back, or self isolation. I think you've just got to take a view on it, haven't you? Um,
Yes.
you really have. Um, take a view on it and make an educated decision. I think it's far more problematic if you've got a family, because it's not just about you. Um, uh, but it's a difficult situation that it's put people in, but not one that actually we should shield away from. I think they've done the right thing.
Yeah. And how do you think the UK has handled the whole lockdown as a nation in general?
Oh, the problem is we put these people in charge, but they're humans. And I don't think anybody saw this coming. Well, of course they didn't. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody's an expert on it, really. Everybody's been followed by the science, in inverted commas, and the science seems to have been mutating and changing on a daily basis. So have they coped better than others, worse than others? Time will tell. I think that mistakes were made, but they've held their hands up and said mistakes were made, of course. And yes, we could have locked down earlier. Um, Goodness me, it's a minefield, really. I think that we should all, as a world, we have to reserve judgment on this. And in about 12 months' time, and we are we are the generation of data, and we will have every scrap of data from our country, all countries of the world, on how this has been dealt with. But I'm not one, and I do think that there is, especially with the newspapers, there will be a lot of navel gazing and a lot of picking over and a lot of navel gazing. And I do think we have to come to a point where it is what it is. Nobody was prepared for it. Nobody knew anything about it.
Mm,
So can we all gather ourselves up and move on and start to make a better world because of it?
for sure. It's
Well,
all we can do.
yeah, and I think it will be quite annoying. And there are people who seem to delight in this of picking over things, constantly picking over and over and over.
Oh, I know. It doesn't change anything.
So let's
Exactly.
just move forward. And that goes for all of us. We all have a book of life, and it's very easy to go, oh, well, let's just go and have a look in those old chapters that really give us pain. No, let's move forward.
Exactly. Everyone has a story. Everyone's had hard lessons. We've just got to learn from it. It shouldn't define you, but you definitely should learn from it and
No,
then
no.
make
I
the
think
most of
there's
it.
a moving on, and actually, I can bring that back to homes. I know that I've moved home often, and you thought, "Oh, this is going to kill me. This is going to wrench my heart." I'm moving home, and I remember one in particular, and it wasn't a happy move, and it was through divorce, and I remember thinking that this was the worst day of my life. Selling this home, packing it up. And I do remember getting into the car and looking back when it was an empty vessel. There was nothing in it. All the memories had gone. They were all in either a container or they were in a van or a big lorry. And looking back and thinking, it's a pile of bricks. That's
Mm.
all it is. It's a pile of bricks. And all the love and all the memories I will recreate somewhere else. And I did. And I think it's always something, and I know people listening to us chat might be going through a situation like that where they are downsizing or they're moving from a family home that's sort of that's had its time within that family life. And moving on is a great lesson in life. And to be able to move on, look back and go, do you know, you were great. We had a lovely time, but now it's time to go. I'm going to take my things and I'm going to build that nest somewhere else. And we all do.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's hard for a lot of people to
Oh,
see it that way, but if they could see it that way,
yeah.
it's just also true.
It's a pile of bricks. It keeps the rain out.
Yeah, exactly. You can't take it with you. All you can
No,
really bring with you to the next house is you and your memories and who you are and what you've learned and all those things. So, yeah.
absolutely.
So, Anthea, I have so many questions for you today. I literally don't know where to begin,
Okay,
but
darling.
I will start with asking you about your childhood home and if you could please share some of your earlier memories with me from when you were growing up in your home.
I have very vivid memories of home. We had a bungalow, and it was the house that my mother was born in. And then my mum and dad, when they got married, as often happened then, dad moved into the family home. Her mum, sadly, my grandma wasn't any longer with us, and my grandfather was still there. So I always remember growing up with my grandfather, my mum and dad, and obviously then my two sisters arrived as well. But I just always remember a lot of let's pretend, a lot of being outside. My dad had three girls, and I think he probably quite liked a boy, but he had three girls. So I can climb trees, I can ride bikes, I can fish, I can do all
Mhm.
those things. He sort of, and I even ended up with a train set one Christmas, which I never actually asked for. And my dad thoroughly enjoyed it. But I always remember one of the favorite games with me and my sisters and my friends who would all turn up was Let's Play House. We were never happier than under a tree setting up a little house and playing house, or in the sandpit, or we had this tree that had branches that practically went to the grass. And so underneath it, we'd have drag things out of the house and create a house. So something obviously that we all enjoyed, and something which is, I will always say, and friends of mine will laugh at me, that honestly, even if we went camping, you'd have the neatest little tent, and it would all be really sorted. But
Mhm.
I have got this thing about home and the value of home and base camp.
Yeah, interesting. And then, when you were growing up in your home, was there any kind of little habits or family habits that you might have brought into your home and living today?
I just remember being really messy. I only learned to be organized when I left home, which my mum, of course, finds hilarious. And I think, like most, this is why I always say, don't despair on teenagers if they're messy. They could turn out like me. But I think it was when I left home, I realized that the fairies weren't there to do anything for me. So I better do it myself. I quite like to live nicely, so I better sort of, get on with it. And, over the years, had various little flats and apartments and, boyfriends, friends. And I think you start to, by osmosis, sort of learn about interiors and about how a home works and how you want to live. And some people obviously are more heightened to it than others. My father, father had a company in Stoke-on-Trent, and they were actually cabinet makers. But later on, they went into soft furnishing. So I was very used to fabrics. I was very used to, carpets, fabrics, wallpapers. My father sold all of those. They were, as they were, a cabinet makers. They were master carvers. So they had a lot to do with interiors, originally in churches, and then obviously came into people's homes. So that's sort of the smell of a showroom I know well.
Interesting. Gosh.
And I think then I went through that 80s thing, the awful 80s things with the swags and tails curtains.
Yes.
And borders. I don't know. There was lots of wallpaper and borders.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes.
And that's sort of the look, the 80s look. And rag rolling. There seemed to be an awful lot of painting things and rag rolling and making things look like marble that weren't marble.
That's so true. That was like a stucco on the walls.
Yeah, that's it. So I went through all of that. And then obviously, we will pare down a little bit more, and then realize that actually making a home is what we've just talked about, really, which is sort of bringing your personality. And, Mark and I are doing that at the moment, sort of merging two personalities within a home,
Yes.
which is interesting.
It is so interesting. I'm going to get to that. And I want to then ask you what your teenage bedroom was like.
Oh, I'm going to say, So, 1970, the Partridge Family, David Cassidy, Osmonds, that's me. My teenage bedroom, I insisted I had the avocado. I was very lucky that I had a little tiny ensuite bathroom. And it was avocado green. And I insisted on the same tiles as the Twyford's bathroom.
Okay.
And then I had a green back wall, and you will not remember these, but they were done in it's like a rattan headboard, but it looked like a peacock's tail.
I do. I totally remember those.
And now it would be kitsch. Now it's a kitchen. I only wish I could get my hands on one. But so I had one of those, and I had a bedspread, which my mum and I had crocheted, and it was all the crocheted squares, which of course everybody was crocheting in those days. It was
exactly
ponchos. It was, you name it.
Yeah.
We were crocheting things in squares and then sewing them all together. I was a little bit hippie, so I thought, that was fantastic. And I thought that David Cassidy would one day enter that bedroom and say, You're the girl for me.
Excellent. So you could probably pick up one of those headboards in Lots Road.
Yeah, do you know, I look out for one. And I think even though I don't really want to put it up, I'd find one just for the hell of it.
I know.
Which is so clean and tidy now.
That's such a great place. That's like an Aladdin's cave. There's so much in there. And so, Anthea, when did you decide to get into broadcasting? Can you share that with me?
I don't think it was a decision. It was an accident. A lot of these things are, and I speak to lots of my friends who are in the business. Yeah. Most of them were funny, strange accidents. I did classical ballet until I was about 19, and I really thought I was going to end up, and I wanted to go to a ballet school, drama school, ballet school. Really difficult. My parents didn't actually have the money to be able to sort of send me down to London to a drama school. And back in those days, you couldn't get grants like you can now. And there's no such thing as the Brit School or any any of those sort of academies and things. So I realized that what did I went to, I thought I'd have a year off. I had a year off because I really didn't know what I was going to do. And so to sort of, just sort of pigeon around a little bit, got some jobs and some money, went abroad. And then I decided that I got in at to do a fine arts degree. Went to go and do the check-in and everything. I thought, I just can't do this. So I didn't. And then I thought, well, I need to get a job. As my parents said, you think you need to get a job? I thought a car was the answer to my prayers. It seemed to open up a whole world of opportunities. Mm-hmm. So my dad said he'd buy me a car, but I had to pay him back. So I got this job, ironically working for the Automobile Association in their breakdown information service, so I could pay my dad back for the car. But while I was there, they said, we'd like somebody to do the road traffic reports on the local BBC station. Would you be interested? And I said, oh, yes, okay then. And you got an extra £14 a month, which was a lot of money then. So I started doing road traffic reports, and that's really where it started. And then eventually I, in Stoke-on-Trent, got a job working for a commercial radio station as the record librarian. And I also did other things on air as well, but only little bits and bobs on air. And then I came down to London actually to work for a record company. Went to a party. Somebody said they're looking for a girl to work on Sky Tracks, which was Sky's MTV at the time. And I went along to the audition and got the job. Wow. And that was sort of it. That makes it sound easy, but it wasn't. So I got the job, and then I was probably in the right place. And then I auditioned for a Saturday morning show, and I got that. Although actually I did get sacked from the Sky Tracks because the lady who ran the station said I wasn't hip enough. I wasn't quite trendy enough. I sort of did look like something like a reject from Bananarama. She actually said, we're not going to renew your contract. You see, the thing is, we think you're probably not for us. She said, you're a little Blue Peter. And she said it in a derogatory manner. Mm. Little did she know.
Little did she know.
So then I did morning television, Top of the Pops and stuff like that. And then eventually got Blue Peter.
Fantastic.
So that was my little strange collection of moves.
And that was life-changing for you.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I loved it. I had the best time there. We celebrated the Blue Peter 30th, and we did Tracy Island, which was, one of the biggest make they've ever done. And I absolutely embraced and loved doing Blue Peter. And, if I wasn't too old, I would still be doing it today. But I was offered, in a career-wise, a lifeline, mm-hmm. Which was GMTV. So I thought at my age, because I'm a late developer and I didn't actually get Blue Peter till I was 32, that I ought to go and have a go at that, which I did. And that took me on a completely different course.
Yeah. And I think that's when I first spotted you, because I actually didn't grow up in Ireland. So when I moved here, I would have first spotted you on GMTV.
Yes, of course.
And I was such a fan. I used to have to bring a photograph of you into my hairdresser, and I was like, I so want Anthea's hairstyle. You've got to cut my hair like Anthea's. And I think I was one of many girls. Everyone was trying to copy your hairstyle.
Well, to start off with, GMTV wanted me to grow it all one length and have one of those television presenter bobs.
Oh, no.
And I remember refusing and said, no, I can't possibly do this. And then, of course, it became, I think it was because Meg Ryan was out at the time with Hoopers in Seattle, and mm-hmm. And then that sort of look all of a sudden. So I think they went, oh no, well, we don't want you to cut your hair now. So thank you very much. There you go. But my hair is actually quite curly. So it's always been, it has to be layered, and it's got, it's always variations on a theme, really, isn't it? It's a sort of layered shaggy look.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jennifer Aniston had sort of a longer version of your cut as well.
Did,
Was that
did.
kind of layered, casual?
I would love to be able to have, at some point or other, to have my hair all one length, but it's just impossible because it grows out like Luby Loo.
I love your hairstyle. Just don't change it. It's iconic. Everyone knows you for your hairstyle. You just can't
Thank
change your
you. Thank you. Lockdown has brought the curls back though, because I didn't really have to. Curly hair looks okay in real life. It doesn't tend to look quite good on television. It can look a little bit messy. So,
Yeah.
but when I'm working, I've always tended to blow dry my hair. But of course, lockdown, I thought, well, I don't need to.
Yeah.
And my hair after lockdown, and we're still not over it really.
Mhm.
But honestly, my hair's never been in such good condition, which reminds me how much I absolutely rip the EBGBs out of it with a
Yeah.
hairdryer.
True. And straightening irons and products, I think everyone just gave their hair a holiday. It was really,
Absolutely.
yeah, and their nails, and their skin.
Now, I'm looking at mine now. I've had acrylic nails for
Mhm.
nearly probably 18 years. And this is the first time I've seen my own nails for such a long time. And it's taken them 2 months to sort of grow through, probably actually a bit more like
Yeah.
3 months actually, to completely grow through. Now I'm looking at them thinking, maybe I should just be a bit kinder to them. Maybe my own nails are not as bad as I thought.
There you go.
So I don't know. What am I going to do?
I was getting the shellac, and I actually only kind of was introduced to shellac in December, so I didn't actually have them on my nails for very long before the lockdown. But they did weaken my nail, and I was relieved during the lockdown that I could just remove the shellac and just let my own nails strengthen up again, and I'm not sure I'll ever go back.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I definitely won't go back to the talons that I have had.
Yes. A lot of maintenance, a lot of maintenance.
Exactly.
And so did you get any time to travel? Because it sounded like you had quite a kind of busy, you jumped from one job to the next. Did you have any kind of adventures in between?
Well, I did because my jobs took me abroad, really, because
Hmm.
I did, Blue Pizza. I did quite a bit of traveling with Blue Pizza. I also did quite a bit of traveling with GMTV because it was a sort of different format at the time. We did this thing called Fun in the Sun, where I ended up on a beach for 8 weeks, or various beaches in any case, and then I did a program called Turner Around the World, and then I did Wish You Were Here for 3 years. So I sort of I have traveled more in my job than I have on holidays. And often I say, "Oh, I've been there." And then I realize that actually I was there for 3 days. I went whistle stop, out again. So
Yes.
I'm quite well traveled,
Hmm.
but quickly.
But you are kind of work related. Yeah, not like,
Yeah.
yeah, just traveling around with a backpack on your own.
No, no,
You're
no,
actually,
no. Although
yes.
I don't think I could ever do that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I'm not a believer in traveling light the deal is, unless you are unless you can't take a suitcase and you can't have wheels, what's the point? There are no prizes for traveling light. There really aren't. And when people go, "Oh, I only do hand luggage," well, goody for you.
Yeah.
Goody for
I
you.
so
You
agree.
obviously don't have to accessorize. And for me, going on holiday, part of the joy is enjoying my wardrobe.
Of
You
course.
can't enjoy in this country because it's not the weather for it all the time.
Absolutely.
So I love the thought of going away and thinking, right, those shoes are going to go with that. That's going to go with that. That handbag's going to go with that. I'm going to wear that bracelet. Da, da, da. And I love it. Absolutely love it. So if it's extra luggage, I will always take it. Yes, yes, I'll have extra luggage, please. Thank you very much.
Definitely. I remember you once giving out a tip about bringing an extension lead with you on your holidays, just in case
Mhm.
the mirror was very far away from a plug point on the wall and you needed to blow dry your hair. And to this day, I actually pack an extension
Oh,
lead.
it's the only thing to travel with. It really is.
Yeah.
Because, and I have to say this, I think a lot of men design hotel rooms and they plainly don't use a hairdryer. You
No.
got to get two things. You get the stupid hairdryer, which is attached to the wall that, I might as well blow on my own hair.
Yes.
Um, or you get the plug over there, the hairdryer and the plug and the mirror not in the right place or not together, or the
Not
mirror
alive.
is in a place that you can't really see properly. You don't get that proper light to be able to do your hair and your makeup.
So true.
So fantastic. I'm so glad that you've taken that little tip on board.
Yes, you have like amazing tips. I remember another tip that I watched you sharing about if you're outside and you're eating, and you know those little kind of, they're like fruit flies.
Oh, yes.
And a way to prevent them from kind of ruining your meal or your space is to burn the coffee
Light
granules.
the coffee. Absolutely, yes.
Can you share that tip with everyone? Because I knew
Oh,
of it. But...
it works. In the Mediterranean, I think people do this all the time and use a cheap coffee,
Mhm.
but it will be the ground coffee. Unfortunately, it doesn't light if you use the coffee that where you've had the coffee and then you put it into your knock box or whatever you
Mhm.
do to get rid of the coffee. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So just get cheap coffee and you just you put it in a bowl or a plant pot or something and just light it and it smolders away. And they are coughing and spluttering. They really don't like it.
It's like an incense nearly,
Yeah.
but
Well, and actually, it's got quite a nice coffee smell.
yeah, me too. So, Anthea, did you find it tough when you were first like starting out in the business? Because I'd imagine you need a lot of determination and stamina and energy. I mean, all of those things that you are oozing with to withstand the pace of, presenting a breakfast show.
Well, yes, you do, but I think you are a hamster in a wheel. You don't realize until you get off what you've done,
Mm.
and it is relentless. Of course, it is. However, I think we're capable of doing a lot more than we think we can. And looking back now, I think I just got on with it and I just did it.
Hmm.
And it's only looking back, I will go, oh my goodness me. I mean, I'm doing Jeremy Vine tomorrow morning. I'm thinking, right, I need to there's a car picking me up at 6 o'clock, which means
Wow.
obviously I've got to be up early to blow dry
Hmm.
and do my hair, most important thing. Um, and, read notes second, but do hair first.
Of course.
Um, and I think, my goodness me, I used to do this every single, 5 days a week. And then at a weekend, I was doing the lottery, or then I was filming somewhere else and doing gazillion and one things. But I think ask a busy person as well. But also, I think there's an age thing where where you actually want to slow down because you want to slow down.
Yeah.
Because you want to savor. And I think if there's one thing, I'm now sort of at a different age group, and the Japanese call it your second spring. You can hear it. So can you hear my dog making very strange noises?
I can.
Yeah,
So,
I just want you to know it's not me. It's not me. It's not another person in this room. Soho is now grunting and groaning. I think he wants to take him out.
oh, he's very welcome.
Yeah, I don't know. So what was I talking about? What am I talking about?
We were talking about the second spring.
The second spring. That's it. And I'm actually I'm writing a book on it, which will be out next spring.
Ooh.
And it is a time when I want to savor. I think there's a point in our lives, and anybody who's my age will sort of look back and go, do you know, you're right, and I didn't either, where you don't have time to savor what you're doing. You can be doing amazing things. You can be having the time of your life, but are you savoring it? Or are you, like most of us, so worried about looking over our shoulder and thinking, what else should I be doing? Am I doing this properly? Am I doing enough? Oh my goodness me, my to-do list is growing. We'll always have a to-do list. However, but we don't cherish and we don't savor.
Mm. And what inspired you to write that book? Was it the lockdown period, as a matter of interest? Because I think a lot of people savored.
I think it's always been a thought, and I think you don't think about age until you are.
Mhm.
Then you think, I better think about it because I am, and I do. I do think that we can say, 50 is the new 40, but actually 60 is 60, and there is a little tweak that happens in your head, and you think, no, do you know? I don't feel any different. I don't look any different than I was sort of 3 months ago when I was 59. But I perceive myself, but actually you are perceived differently. If you say, oh, somebody's in their 60s, then we have this sort of little vision of somebody who we've just painted a picture very quickly in our brain of somebody who's in their 60s. And then we say, well, somebody in their 50s, we've painted a different picture of somebody who we think is in their 50s. And I sort of I found this sort of fascinating. And also, there are situations where you do suffer from ageism.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to suffer from that. I do think that it's time. I think it's a time to take stock.
Yes.
And to just stop and go, how do I want to go forward? Are there things I can do to edit my life that will make my life better? Are there things that I want to do, I'm always talking about doing, and if I don't do them now, I'm probably never going to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to make that start. So, it will be a book which will, of course, deal, because we're women, and it will be directed at women. A little bit of it, of course, will be about how we look, because it's not that we want to. It's not that we want to be younger. I'm just sort of talking this through with you now. I think if I could have £1 for everybody who is in their 60s who said to me, do you know, I don't actually want to be younger. I want to be me with the wisdom that I have and the clarity that I have, but I'd quite like to have the skin I had when I was about 42.
Yes. Well, that would be fair. That would be true.
And I think that would be perfect.
Yeah.
So, but the elixir of youth is not in a pot of cream. It's in your attitude, your outlook, the
Definitely.
way you are. I think you want to be the best example of your age, the best you can possibly be. That's all we can ask for. I think that we have all had a little bit of a wake up over our own health. If we want to save the NHS on an ongoing basis, then we don't need to be a burden on it. And I want to keep myself as healthy as I possibly can, and I will leave the NHS to people who don't have a choice. So I am hoping that one of the good things that comes out of all this is that we do start to take some responsibility, like personal responsibility for ourselves. When did we stop taking responsibility for ourselves? It's the advertiser's fault. It's the government's fault. No. We have to look in the mirror. It's us. We make decisions.
Yes, so true. I don't know if you've seen that documentary with Jane Fonda.
I haven't.
Yeah, it's really interesting. She's a fascinating lady. I mean, I think what is she's over her? She's 80.
Oh, she's 80 something. Yes, 80 something. No,
and she's just, I mean, to be admired. She's incredible,
isn't she?
She's so graceful.
But she has as well, and I think it's important. She's switched on. She is aware, and I know we can be a bit of klutz with technology and things, but I'll always find my way around it. I'm glad that I was born in the 60s, so that I will carry on with technology, because it does have a place in our lives and we love it. But again, you just have to keep it under control. I think it's really Esther Ranson. Somebody I often talk to Esther, and she's well informed. She's vital. She talks to young people. She gets it. She understands what's going on in the world. She hasn't aged herself. And I mean, you can age people age themselves when they're 30.
That's true.
She's kept a very open, interested, flirty mind all of her life, and she's 80 this year.
Wow,
amazing woman, absolutely amazing.
She is, and she's been through so much.
Hasn't
she's just full of wisdom as well.
And we have to harness that wisdom, but still shine and bloom, and not forget that we are still vital. And I think it's important as well in society that there was recently something about people actually being pensioned off earlier. so that they can make way for the young. But the young learn from the old.
Oh, for sure.
And I wouldn't want to be in a company where
No.
there wasn't a really fabulous mix of age, because I learn from being with young people, and I learn from being with older people who have more experience than I do. And I think that's the beautiful thing. It's like a biosphere of knowledge.
That's for sure. I was chatting with a really interesting psychotherapist on the podcast recently, and she was saying that in life it's also very important to have friendships with people who are older than you and younger than you.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I've got some lovely friends in my life who are 10 years younger than I am and 10 years older. And the 10 years older ones, they're the ones I love. Gilly Johnson. She was a
Yes.
model, fantastic raconteur, knows everything. And Gilly's my person I ring up. Gilly, so just tell me, what happened to you? Did you?
Yeah. And they can have the answers to everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I
But
think,
equally, a young person can have the answers to everything as well. I think, it's just really good to get, everyone's point of view.
well, then by osmosis, we sort of soak a huge amount up, don't we? We don't realize we do. And we just shouldn't. What we shouldn't do is block things out because we don't understand. And that's why we have to talk to young people about their issues, about what's going on in their world, about understanding Black Lives Matter, about understanding all the other things in the world that maybe not. We have. I grew up in the '60s in the Midlands. A lot of things didn't enter my life until I moved to London,
Yes.
and I've learnt through my life experiences, and I always remember how much I learned, even just working with Diane Louise Jordan on Blue Peter and being part of her Caribbean family, and also and other. And that's what I do love actually about London. I love this amazing melting pot that we live in, with all these different nationalities who actually, and I know there have been problems, and I'm not shying away from that, but we're quite good. We are. We've got this. We're not as bad as America.
No.
That they've got problems that I'd
Yes.
never want to be there. Never want to be there.
Yeah, it's true. It's not a good place to be living in
No.
at the moment, or I just don't know. It doesn't look good, for the foreseeable future either. But hopefully they'll get things sorted out.
Oh, I think the UK and Ireland, we're absolutely fine. We're all right. We're fine.
Yeah. But Anthea, I can't wait to read your book. So you said it's coming out next spring.
Well, I will, because obviously I've got to do a little bit more writing than I am at the moment.
Mm.
I've been doing, so I've now got to apply myself. And I would like to think if I get my act together, I've got the book deal. You know what it's like. And they'll be like, now, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be finished? Have you finished it yet? So I think, because we're calling it, my idea is that, and I love this, the Japanese calling it your second spring. So it should come out in spring.
It's a great title.
My birthday's it's May, so it's still spring.
Amazing. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
It sounds like an excellent read, and it's going to be an excellent book for people to give to friends and girlfriends.
I want it just to be a little dip-in book, a little bit like The Secret.
Yeah.
It's not just about what I think. This is what other people have said. I was reading something about Sharon Stone, who said on her 62nd birthday, she went into the bathroom with a bottle of fine wine, and she said, "I am not coming out until I've made peace with my body."
She's fab.
And I think it's interesting what people that we have looked up to and are probably senior to us. Some of them are not, but I know people like Debbie Harry and you mentioning Jane Fonda there. These are all wise women, and they've got some great quotes between them.
They do. And there's just so many. Sorry, I'm just having a mental block. So many I know of that are just not coming into my mind in this moment, that are just fantastic.
They will do. And when we finish, they will do.
They'll all come in. They'll all flood in.
They'll become all flooding in.
I just wanted to ask you a question. Have you, by any chance, caught the new Sky documentary about Roger Ailes?
I haven't, but I will do. But I was reading about it because it's been in the newspapers as well.
It's
And
interesting. What's your thoughts
oh,
on it?
well, you see, I'm still always surprised. I mean, there are so many people, unfortunately, of his ilk in the business, and why it ever got to that point where somebody didn't call them out earlier.
Yeah.
Um, I can honestly say I've never come across it. I've come across, of course, in this, in the 80s and early 90s, where what you would call maybe a little bit flirty nowadays would seem inappropriate, but back in the
Hmm.
day it probably wasn't. But I have always felt very in control of myself. I've never been in a situation where I felt I've had to do something for the sake of my career. Absolutely not. And nor would I. So I am always horrified that people, whether it be in the situation we've got the Harvey, and also with the Epstein problems as well. I'm just always surprised that girls put themselves in those positions. I really am. I
Yeah.
think it's sad, and I think that if we can ever change anything, it's education at an early age. It
Yeah.
really is. And I'm very glad that this has all come out into the open.
Yeah.
It's obviously been bad enough that it's had to, but
Mhm.
you hope what it does is it means that girls will not shut up and put up, that
Yeah.
they will actually have a voice and they will put the flag up a lot earlier. I went to an all-girls school. I went to a Catholic all-girls school in Stoke-on-Trent,
Hmm.
and Sister Mary Edward we used to have really good conversations with our nuns, they were the Dominicans, and Sister Mary Edward even made sure that we had self-defense lessons from the local police force, just in case anything
Wow.
happened to us. So he was way ahead of her time.
My goodness.
This is 1970. What about 1977? We were having self-defense lessons.
Wonderful. She sounds like a very cool nun.
Absolutely.
What was her name again?
Sister Mary Edward. She was
Sister
tiny.
Mary Edward. Don't mess with
Amazing.
Sister Mary Edward.
Sister Mary Edward, don't mess with her. She was tiny. She was 4 foot nothing.
I love it. And who have you been most impressed by that you've met within the industry?
um Impressed by, I was very lucky that when I did the lottery, of course, we had, it was the place that if you got a single out, and of course we're talking records in those days, that you wanted to be on the national lottery because you got between 17 and 20 million people watching on a Saturday night just for 15 minutes. So it was great. So we had, Cher, Patrick Swayze. I mean, there's just everybody who was coming into town came on that show. And that was a joy, really, to be able to
Mhm.
meet all those type of people. Even Donald Trump. I think, what was he doing at the time? I think he was buying land up in Scotland. So we had a lot of big names, a lot of big names. So I think they were all very, very impressive, of course. But I have to say, and I think I've been lucky enough to meet, various prime ministers as well along the line. Um,
Is there anyone that kind of stood out for you?
and who would stand out for me and just say it, and I would probably always say, I mean, I was very impressed with meeting the Queen.
Oh, wow.
I met the Queen on a few occasions, and my mum, of course, she has got a lovely picture of me shaking the Queen, shaking my hand, me curtsying
Mm.
at a Royal Variety. And I think I'm completely and utterly in awe of the Queen and Prince
Yeah.
Philip.
What
And
was that like? What was that moment like?
oh my goodness me, I was just so chuffed. You're standing on the stage and you're being introduced to the Queen.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know, it's one of those things you think, now remember this, Anthea, let's slow time down just so you can soak everything up. And the one thing, and she is exactly as you would expect her to be, and we've seen her on the television enough. However, she has got the most beautiful skin, the most beautiful complexion. And it's still
Mm.
beautiful, even though the lady is obviously 94. However,
Mhm.
beautiful complexion.
And her eyes. What is it like to look into her eyes?
I got so mesmerized by her complexion and
Really?
her hair, and that finding that hair that you just want to stroke.
Yeah.
And I know it looks like it's all got L-net over it, but it hasn't. It looks like
Yes.
you could just like touch her hair. I just remember that it was skin and hair, and I did actually think, well, a little bit more makeup might just like make her eyes pop a little bit more. I'd have liked to put a bit more mascara on or something like that. But just, I
Interesting.
mean, I just totally in awe. I have to say that Princess Anne has also got her mother's beautiful skin,
Really?
and I will always be a royalist. I will always think, oh, it's marvelous to be there. To go to
Mm,
events, Buckingham Palace, and things
for
like that.
sure. And
Always,
her presence, she's got such
yeah,
a
she
strong
has that
presence.
presence, doesn't she?
Yeah, that was definitely an amazing experience. And
Yeah.
you recently took part in the brilliant Celebrity SAS.
Yes, I did. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It
Yeah.
was frightening. The most frightening thing, obviously, tipping backwards out of that hovering helicopter into the
God,
Scottish Sea, which
scary.
was freezing.
Really.
Just, um, and just literally being pushed back. And
Oh
I
my
did my inverted backward dive, and it's odd, really. I it was quite exhilarating,
Mm,
and I knew that I didn't have the cardio fitness of those people who were a lot younger than me, um, but I listened to what they said, and when I got out of the sea and I got to shore, sodden, um, and I said, "Oh, how is that?" And it was Ollie Ollerton, and he said textbook. And I thought, that's all I need to hear. Textbook.
mm.
Brilliant. That's it. I can go now. Thank you. Done. Tick.
Excellent.
I tell
But
you what,
you enjoyed it.
what I did learn about that. What
Yes.
I learned about the armed forces is discipline. I understand why discipline is so important. You work as a team. You have to be disciplined to work as a team, and there has to be leaders, and there has to be tractors, and there has to be trailers. That's the way it works. And they are an elite force around the world, utterly amazing, all of our troops. And the other thing it reminded me is that the exhilaration that, and I go back to saying, as we get older, our life becomes safer.
Mm,
And sometimes naturally it becomes safer. And what we need to do to keep ourselves vital and to keep ourselves young is not go for the pot of cream. Do things that are outside of your comfort zone. Now, obviously,
yeah.
what I did was a little extreme.
Yes.
However, there are things where you've sat there and said, I've always wanted to go and go and do it. And if you've never gone youth hosteling, I know I've just said that I obviously like a nice suitcase. However, if you told me it was a backpack, I would deal with it.
Hmm.
And if you've ever wanted to go and do those things, then you might be a lot older. You're not a teenager, but there's nothing stopping you doing it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
It's true.
So I do think that we should push our boundaries, and it's subjective. Everybody's a difference, but push our boundaries.
Mm. And is that what motivates you, do you think?
Um, I think adventure motivates me. Trying something different. I'm a Gemini, and I have to have a go. I'm not silly about it, but I definitely will. I'm a have a go merchant. Doesn't necessarily
That's
mean I'm
great.
succeed, but I'll
Hmm.
always have a go.
Yeah. Jump into the deep end, literally, and see what happens. Worry about it later. Jump in and then worry about it. And how would you describe your own personal style, interiors wise?
I like to keep my basics, which is floor and walls, fairly plain, and then play.
Okay.
I'm a great believer, though an interior and an exterior have to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you see a very modern, maybe an apartment, and somebody's tried to antique it up, it doesn't look right. It can never look right. So you look at the house, not the room, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and ask that house what it's looking for. What does it need? Um, and I try and marry old and new. And I try, and I think there's an art in that,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be done very successfully. And I don't like all new, and I don't like all old. I like to discover things. I love going to near to where your London showroom is, where the Lots Road auctions are down there. There's lots of also
Yes.
very interesting antique. Some of them are not antique. They're antique. What would we call them?
Kind of Nordic.
Yeah. Again, I do think if you have was it there's William Morris, have nothing in your homes you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I am a great believer in that. I don't have a minimal existence at all, but everything is better. There's symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite well arranged. It has balance, and there is a reason for it being there.
Mm-hmm.
I am the sort of person who, Mark has a lovely Spanish cleaning lady, but she never puts anything back where I put it. And I don't understand this. So I have this lovely, and I've given up now. She's so gorgeous. She's the best ironer ever.
Okay.
So I
He's
then
forgiven.
walk around having a lovely time with a cup of tea, just
Mm-hmm.
moving things. And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
moving them a centimetre, but I know exactly where I put it. I'm looking at 3 items now on the mantelpiece, and four items. And they're really very attractive, but the television is above them, and there's a red light on the television, and they have to be equidistant outside of that red light, and then I know that I've got the perfect symmetry on the mantelpiece. And I do, and it makes me sound like I'm completely crazy. However, when people come into your home and they feel relaxed, and they don't know why they feel relaxed because it it does have things in it, but they have their place.
Yep.
Often people will say to me, I always feel really relaxed in your homes. I don't know why. The colours will be relaxing, but there will be this, maybe it goes back to, I never really studied this, the feng shui.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a feeling. I would never put a settee bashed up against a wall. It will always have to come out about an inch or 2 inches. And I'm a great believer in energy in a house, energy moving around a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, I say I'm too Gemini about this, and I can't tell you, I've lived in the country and I've lived in the city, and I've got a love for both of them. And I've lived in the Midway house as well, have a love for that. So I'm very adaptable,
Yeah.
very adaptable.
And you're just you're a good homemaker. You like to make your space your own, and
Yes, and I think that that's something that should never be underestimated.
Mhm.
We've all been watching Mrs. America.
Yes.
But I think homemaking doesn't have to match.
No.
It's just got to be a lovely, clean, well organized, well run,
Mhm.
loving home. And that is the most important. It really is.
100% agree with you. So in currently where you live now, where is your favorite place to sit in your home and look through Instagram or chat to a friend or
This is black dog, cream sofa. Cream sofa is all going to go horribly wrong. Um, so I am now where I am because your office is just not very far, like a quarter of a mile down the road with that. So I'm looking at the Thames, and I'm Soho. Soho's now wedged between my computer and me, as near as he could possibly get to the both of us.
oh, I can hear him. He's
I
lovely.
can hear him. And so we're now looking at the Thames. And it's the one place in London that I always feel that you can feel relaxed just looking at the water,
Yeah.
looking at the water. And if I'm feeling a little bit tense, and especially through lockdown, always, always, always walk along the water line here. Always. I
Yeah.
move for the water, rivers, sea, anything, water.
Yeah. It's very, very relaxing.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing you do when your eyes pop open in the morning? What's the first thing Anthea Turner does?
I open the electric blinds because there's
Mhm.
lots of them. I go along. Hold on a second. I'm just going to. Soho's going to have to go on the floor. Soho, sit down. Sit down. Who said don't give me that look? He's giving me the look. Yes, how could you do this to me? I open the blinds and I look at the sky and I look at the water, and I'm such an anorak. I have an app which tells me the tide on the Thames, and depending on the tide, then I start working out if I can get to the Thames and what I call Battersea Beach, which is the other side from where I am.
Mhm.
And if I can get there, and I'm going to have a little bit of a walk along
Lovely.
the
Such a
beach.
lovely area around there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Well, it's
Love it.
ugly and lovely as well. It's got unattractive things. London's one of those places. It's got beauty and it's got ugly.
Yeah. And so you're very into your health and exercise and taking care of yourself and fitness. So would that be part of your morning ritual?
Yes, I would like to think that I try and do something at least 3 times a week, and then I do that thing. I've got ankle weights, which I keep sort of around my ankles when I'm in the house, going up and downstairs. So I've got 4 or 5 flights of stairs here to navigate. So I use ankle weights. I think fitness needs to fit into your life unless you've got time, and I know it's all about making time. But sometimes there just aren't enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
So I make sure in the house I've got weights, just free weights. It's amazing what you can do with a good set of free weights.
Mhm.
And I use resistance bands, and I can be on the phone using a resistance band,
Yeah.
multitasking. See, multitasking has to fit in with your life.
Yeah. You're a Gemini.
Absolutely.
And what is Mark, by the way?
He's Virgo.
Oh gosh, he's very good for you then. He's very calming for you, is he?
Well, he is actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely one of those people that if I put the pilot light on, he, pshoo,
Yeah. Yeah.
straight down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Virgos love structure.
Oh, he does. Yes, absolutely.
And
Sorry about the dog.
is he one of those very neat and tidy Virgos?
Yes, he is. He's very neat and tidy, although he's probably kept more than I have. So
Yes.
we have had a little bit of a big turf out. We've done a lot of turfing out. But it needed to be done. He's glad,
Well,
really. He's glad.
yeah.
There was a
You
few.
can help him with all those
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
So are you a hostess with the mostest? Do you like to entertain?
I do. I don't as much as I used to, and I think when you live in a city, you don't entertain as much
Right.
because there is life is about. There's a lot of going out. Oh, there's lots of what I call nipping out. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Shall we see each other? Yeah, okay then. Well, I'll meet you at that. The little Italian down in Ebury Street. Yeah, okay then.
Yes.
So I think that's something else that lockdown has reminded us, that we can actually cook and invite people around.
Yeah, so
Um,
true.
so I do think I will come back to that. But I went through, when I lived out in the country, it was always because that's what you did. There weren't restaurants nearby, so you spent a huge amount of time in other people's houses.
Yes.
But city living changed that. But I think we're all sort of going back to that as well.
And how important is social media to you?
It plays its part. It's there. I take part in it. I'm not obsessed by it. I think it's fun,
Yeah.
and to a certain extent, it is part of my business. And I have learned a lot from social media. I've found a lot of companies that have enhanced my life. I have checked out things. What's trending.
Mhm.
But I think you've got to be careful not to go into the black hole of Instagram, which is very. I don't really bother with Twitter unless I just want to know what people are going on about on a certain subject. But generally, I'm a very spasmodic tweeter, and I like Instagram.
Yeah,
I think it's great for interiors. Oh, the
definitely. Can be so
ideas there.
inspirational.
Absolutely, lots and lots of inspiration.
Hmm.
So I'm a big fan of Instagram.
And I have to say, Anthea, you look so beautiful. I know that you've recently turned 60, and it's just hard to believe that you are 60, to be honest.
Wow.
But what are your beauty secrets? Can you share some of those with me?
I think we have to acknowledge that we are genetic. It's
Mhm.
we have a set of genes that are handed to us by our parents. And I don't know if I've got this exactly right, but it's something like 75%. It's the genetics we've been handed down, and the 25% you can do something about. And I
Wow.
have worked on my 25%. I've put my best foot forward on that.
Mhm.
I have not abused the good luck I've had in some areas. Um, my I would say, I've not, as far as fitness, I have a reasonable and natural level of fitness.
Mhm.
But again, I've not abused that by overeating or smoking or drinking too much that would put that in danger.
Yes.
I do think that, uh, and we know it, that the sun does no favors to your skin in excess,
Mhm.
and that thank goodness that we've lived on these wet shores.
Yes.
And when we do go to other countries and people go, oh my goodness me, but your skin, you think, yeah, it's because we don't get much sunshine.
So
So,
true.
so I have protected my skin. I haven't been silly about it. I've enjoyed great beach holidays and had some fun times, and will continue to have them. But I have been reasonably careful in protecting the skin that I have, which is what I call a very pink English skin.
Yes.
It certainly it has got no Mediterranean blood in there, and I'm not, and I burn. So I wouldn't go anywhere without factor 30.
Yep.
Um, and I think, and I do the lots of water stuff. I do hydration, and I think that's all you can do really.
Sleep? Is that
Oh, I love my sleep. I'm a really good sleeper. My
great?
savings throughout my life doesn't matter what's going on, where I am,
Mm.
I can sleep.
Yeah, that's number one. For
Well,
me, certainly, I think I just feel better. Whatever, I don't know if I look better, but
yeah.
I certainly feel better when I'm rested.
Absolutely. Sleep,
Yeah.
sleep, sleep. And like I think we have all woken up because it's the science, the guts health. So I have a probiotic every morning and a prebiotic.
Well,
Um, I
I must do
completely
that.
and utterly understand that sugar is the one thing that is going to ruin it for all of us.
Really.
Sugar's great. We all love it. We've got a sweet tooth. Of course I have, but it's a treat.
Mm.
And that you have to curtail and as we get older, we have to curtail our intake of sugar and carbohydrate.
Mhm.
Carbohydrate turns into sugar when the body doesn't make use of it. So yeah, and if you want, if there's anything, because there's so many diets, it's all too complicated, and I'm not a believer in that. I think we're all bright enough. We know the difference between a carrot and a carrot cake. So so let's use our intelligence.
Mm.
I also know that sugar's not good for us, and overloading the carbs is not good for us. So if
Yeah.
to do two things that make a massive difference, it's sugar and carbs. Knock those out, and uh, two other things that I think we all of us do every single day, but not many people do it properly, and that is walk and breathe.
Yeah.
Walk
Breathing.
and breathe. Breathing. And, people can do their own research on this, but just Google breathe correctly. And
Yes.
you'll be amazed. And you'll think, my goodness me. We're doing short breaths from the top space of our lungs. We need to do, and even if you just sit, I'm rubbish at meditating. I can't really do
Mhm.
it. I know loads of people say it's a marvelous thing, but I just can't do it. My to-do list is going through my head. But sometimes what I do is I go over to the river here, And I just sit on a wall and I do 40 inhalations, 40 exhalations, really good deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. It is amazing how energized you feel
Yeah.
when you've done that. That's all. And walking properly, there's something called the Alexander technique, which was created in theater, many, many years ago when actors and actresses didn't have microphones. And it was about opening up the chest and being able to project your voice throughout an auditorium, say no microphones, and a way to sit, a way to stand, a way to turn, a way to walk. And I, in the past, have studied that, and it is, it opens your eyes to
Alexander technique.
It's called the Alexander technique. Say it's ancient, well, not ancient, but old, and I love Pilates because I have a dance background. But but even if you just walk, you put your hand on your stomach, you put your shoulders back and walk. And as you put your shoulders back, you feel immediately, it's like Iron Man, you can feel the cogs of your stomach all go into place. And one of the best stomach exercises you can give yourself is just pull your stomach in, put your shoulders back and walk. Just walk.
I'm breathing right now as we speak. I'm practicing that now.
Good old-fashioned deportment. And it works. It really does.
And Pilates is great too. And laughter is very important too, I'd imagine.
Oh my goodness me. Your girlfriends and going out and having a good laugh and sort of hanging out. And I don't think, we all work so hard and we're always running around. And sometimes we just don't hang out. And kids hang out. Well, they can hang out because they've got nothing else to do, really. They don't have any responsibilities.
Totally.
Sometimes we just have to. And then when we do it, we go, oh my goodness, it didn't have a great time. But prior to doing it, we go, oh no, I haven't got time. No, I've got to go and do this and I've got to go and do that. And, and then when you go, oh, okay, I'll meet you. 2 hours later, you're laughing away, having the best time.
I know. It's so true.
Why don't I do this more often?
I so agree. It's only when you're in that moment, you're like, why don't I make time for this more often? It's amazing. Exactly. It's the best feeling. And Anthea, are you a spiritual person? Do you believe that everything happens for a reason?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm a great believer that the universe provides, but you have to ask it. And you have to give it the right instructions as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know normally we say to children, I want, doesn't get. But I think sometimes you have to be really brutal with the universe. I don't believe that we're here on our own. I don't. I believe in the afterlife. I believe in spirituality. I think there are too many cases where, and there are people who have a sixth sense. There really are. But we all have this amazing intuition.
That's for sure.
And how many times do we go, I felt that, I knew that. And we didn't listen to ourselves. And if I think back to some of the mistakes that I have made, I didn't listen to myself. And sometimes it's a silly thing. It's a silly thing about, you go the wrong way. You think, why didn't I just listen to myself? We could be driving, we could be in the car. It could be doing something really silly or something major in your life. But I have actually learned to listen to myself. Yes. And I think again, this comes with our wisdom, is that we need to tap into our intuition. I don't have any superpower, but I definitely have a great intuition, not just about myself, really, but often about other people.
Yes.
And I have learned as I've got older to use it and understand it and be protective of it as well, really.
Yeah, me too. I definitely get a sense about people. I get kind of a really strong sense of people as I get older. I can really tap into that. Or if I'm in someone's home, you can kind of pick up on kind of a feeling or the energy in the space. I can't really describe it.
No. And it's visceral. You don't have to describe it. Yes. It's why when you walk into somebody's home, and it could be the poshest home ever. It could have had hundreds of thousands spent on it, but you can't wait to leave. Yes. You certainly don't really want to go back.
Exactly.
And you will walk into somewhere that certainly isn't that. But you just think, oh, I just want to sit on your sofa and just curl up because I love being here. And I think what we have to do is we have to say, and I was talking to somebody not that long ago about energy. Somebody would say, oh, no, I don't believe in all that. I said, right, well, when you walk into a church, and you don't have to be religious, but you walk into a church, and sometimes, and I know I have done it, where I felt het up about something, and I have walked into a church, and so just sat down and just probably sat there for maybe half an hour or something, just letting my mind wander, just thinking, saying thank you for a few things as well. That's if something's gone right. But you feel calm. So if you can feel calm, then you understand energy. And also, you can go to an amazing place where everybody is hyped up, and maybe it's a concert or something, and you feel the energy of the room because it's a great energy. So people do understand energy, but they think they don't. They think it's tree huggy, but it's not. That's why I always say go to a river, go to the sea. It sweeps away bad things. I really believe it does. And you feel that good energy coming back by just breathing in around water. Country areas have that. Sometimes it's more difficult in the city to find that, but you can find it.
That's so true. Or just be quiet, or just
listen.
Step away from the rat race, and it kind of all comes to you, really.
So we do have it, and I think that we all ought to just remind ourselves that, and to go and find those places where we can experience it and understand it, and we can change energy as well. You can walk into a room, and you can change the energy of that room by your demeanor, by the way you are.
Yes. That's so true. You can set the tone, even by yourself.
Isn't it that lovely? It's a Jewish saying, I think. It says the fish rots from the head down.
Oh, I've heard that. I
love it.
The Italians say that all the time.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it's true. I love it too. That is so interesting. And I was also reading, Anthea, on your Instagram page, and it just made me laugh out loud because I just think you're hilarious. But you were saying that you now totally believe in the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, and the Easter Bunny after meeting Mark Armstrong, your fiance, which is so amazing.
No, and I always think, because I've never been on a dating website or any of those sort of things, and I always, my friends are going, no, you've got to go dating, you've got to do this, that, and the other. And I said, I've told the universe what I'm looking for, and I believe that the universe will provide that, and this person will walk into my life, and it will be right. It will be right. And I'm not going to put any barriers up, but I'm not going to go overly looking. I'm just open, and I do think in life you come into two categories. You're either an open, awake person, or you're a closed, asleep person. And I'm definitely open and awake. Force of circumstances. Two worlds collided, and we went on we were set up by it was actually by a friend who so it was a blind date.
Wow.
I'm still on my blind date.
And you've had to postpone your wedding.
Yes, we were getting married in September in Italy, but we hadn't. It's not too traumatic because it wasn't like we booked the choir. So we just sort of started. We were going over actually in March at lockdown to go and sort of start looking and sorting things out.
Yes.
So it will just time shift it. It will be next year, and it will still be in Italy, and we'll sort it all out.
Love it. How lovely. What a lovely thing to look forward to.
I know. So excited.
I'm delighted for you. And what have you learned about yourself during the pandemic?
I don't think I've learned anything about myself that I didn't already know. I just needed it reaffirming. So it's not a lesson. And I think we've spoken about things that we sort of reminded ourselves of our core self, what we love. I actually love being at home. I love it. And I have friends who hate being at home and they just want to do anything to get out of the house.
I know.
I actually love it. My greatest joy is being at home. And as I said before, due to the fact that all of us spend so much money on our home because that's what we work for, to keep this roof over our head, we might as well love it and enjoy it and make it the best it can possibly be. And I'm eclectic when I come to shopping. I've shopped in beautiful places, and thought, yes, that's an investment, and I will have that forever. And then I love rummaging, and I love, I've found some cushions that happen to be in TK Maxx of all places.
Yeah.
Love them, absolutely love them, and I've got them nestled amongst a few others that have probably got a higher price tag on. But I've just and I'm a seeker, and I love that. I love
Yes.
like it's like the borrowers. You go out finding things.
Yes. You like collecting things.
Oh yes. And that's, I think, why it's nice not to have a house that's too matchy-matchy, because
Yeah.
if it's too matchy-matchy, you can't go finding little treasures.
That's so true. Well, real homes don't look like that.
No,
Real
they
homes do for sure, but not the real ones. And what one piece in your home holds the most special memories for you?
I have a beautiful oak table, which my cousin made for me. It's a solid, very heavy oak table, which has been with me since about 1992. It's been in every single home. And I absolutely adore it. And it's a little rusty. It's not too rusty. It sort of sits. It's a bit arts and craftsy. It's sort of in the middle. You can play any game with it. You can put posh chairs with it. You can down it. In fact, at the moment, I've got some beautiful covered chairs with it, and they've sort of all got stripies and they're a little bit jazzy. You could do anything with this table. I love that table. I absolutely adore that table, and it's got a knot in it as well,
Wow.
from the wood, um, and and everybody sticks salt in it because we all think it's very funny to stick salt in.
So if tables could talk, that would be.
Oh my goodness me! If tables could talk, our table's got a book in it.
And Christmas is like huge for you. I know you've written a very successful book called Perfect Christmas. So tell me how important Christmas is to you, or just how much you love it.
I wrote a book called The Perfect Christmas, I think, just to help people make sense of Christmas. I am a great believer that Christmas is sort of been overdone. It really has. And that we ought to get, we ought to get a little bit, we have to be real about Christmas. What I don't believe that that God ever thought that the baby Jesus' birthday was going to cause us so many problems. It
I
really
know.
shouldn't do. I hate the thought of people stressed out because of Christmas, and
Yeah.
especially women. We do have to understand that if men ran Christmas, it would be a meal down the pub. We'd watch the football, and everybody would have a few after eight mints, and that would be it, really. Nobody would write a card. Nobody would buy a present.
Wow.
And it would be over very quick. Women do run Christmas,
They do.
and it's our own faults. And then when we do all of these things, and then we complain about it. So
So true.
yeah, all of us.
And Christmas is just so long as well. I
Oh,
mean, it can start in August for some people.
absolutely. And I have, I think when you've got little children, it's different.
Yeah.
As they grow older, I think you've really got to take the horrors out of Christmas and do
Yeah.
all the good things that you really love doing. Sort out the present list. Don't let it get silly. Secret Santas, all of those things. I'm absolutely for it. Enjoy Christmas, but don't get it out of proportion to what it really should be. So lots of things, you can make yourself, and I've done all of those, but you have to have time as well to do it.
Yeah.
And we all know we buy our way out of trouble. I'd like to make my own Christmas cards, and in the past I have made my own Christmas cards, but sometimes you just don't have time to do all this. But I don't want people to feel bad about not having time to say, "Oh, what you mean? You didn't do this, that, and the other." No, I didn't, and I just didn't have time, so I bought them.
Yes.
So my Christmas book is it's a book of options. If you've got time, do it. But if you haven't got time, it's cool. It's absolutely fine. And lots of quick ways of doing table decorations, making it look good when you haven't actually spent much time on it at all.
Sounds good.
I'm very good at doing that. Rustling up something that it's all in the presentation. Make it look good, but and I'm also very good at pimping food that I have bought.
Yeah, it's true. It's all about kind of spending time with the family, and I love the idea of making cards. I've never done it, but I should try.
Yes, delegate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Delegate
Sounds
to the family. When people say, and often it's women, we're terrible at it. We've got family coming round, and everybody says, "Oh, is there anything I can bring? Anything I can do?" No, it's okay. No, it's fine. I can do it myself. So
yeah.
one of my first teaching is when somebody says, "Is there anything I can do?" Go, yes. The answer is yes. Give everybody a job.
Yeah, people like to be busy. They like to feel like they can do something to contribute to the day, for sure.
And in Italian households, and I know my Asian friends in their households, everybody comes around with a different dish, and then it all
Yeah,
is a great amalgamation on the table.
that
Why
is
don't we do
absolutely.
that?
My mom used to have these fabulous Christmas parties when we lived in America, and all of our neighbors were, very international. They were from all
Yeah,
over the world. And the one thing she'd ask everyone to do would be bring over a typical Christmas dish from your country.
yeah. Oh, how
And it
fantastic!
was fabulous. And like
Yeah,
it was after Christmas. She would always have a lovely Christmas party kind of into the first week of January when everything was over and you just kind of needed that little something to look forward to. And everyone would bring a fabulous dish, and it was wonderful.
brilliant. You see, what a clever ruse that your mum has come up with. I've never tried that. Oh, do bring something from your country. How nice. So
Yeah,
she's
it
actually made
really
an
was.
amazing party and done
I
one
know.
dish herself. I
I
love it.
know. And everyone talked about how they made it and how it was part of their tradition, and it was just
Oh,
lovely.
what
Yeah,
a
really
clever
nice.
lady. I love that.
Yeah, it was. So, Anthea, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Um, what do I say about that? Happy, just happy. Doing probably no, the same sort of thing that I'm doing now, which is a
Jumping out
little
of
bit of
airplanes.
everything, little bit of everything, still with a to-do list that never comes to an end, and worrying about what I'm going to wear and what I'm going to pack for my next trip.
Good answer. And I just can't see you ever not being happy.
Oh, I think it's Dolly Parton said she was asked in an interview, "Oh, Dolly, why are you always so happy?" And she says, "Because I choose to be."
Yeah, it's so true, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And what advice, Anthea, would you give to your younger self?
Um, Stop worrying. It's going to be all right.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up.
We all worry. We worry, we
Yeah.
worry, we worry. I worry. I love a worry. We all love a worry. It's human having a bit of a worry. If you don't worry, there's something the matter with you. But I think it's a little bit like New Year's Eve. We're all worried we're not where it is happening. No, none of us are where it is happening because we are it. Um,
It's so true.
so, so just stop worrying.
Yeah,
Create
good.
it around you.
Good answer. And my final question.
Yes.
If your home was on fire and you could only save three objects, okay, and Mark and Hugo are outside,
Yeah.
what would they be?
Um, well, very easy. Number one, I have a German humpback bear, straw-filled bear, which I had when I was nothing in 1960, and he's called Brian, named after my dad. My dad brought him back from Germany, and he sits there, and he has a little Blue Peter badge on. He has my Blue Peter badge on, actually, on his little suit that he wears, and he is the cutest bear. And he's quite big, he's what you call a proper teddy bear. And so he goes. I wouldn't be able to get my table out due to the fact it'd be far too heavy. And thankfully, normally we'd all say pictures, but they're all on the cloud, aren't they now? However, I have some that are not. So there's a few albums that I would scoop up very quickly. And let me just think, oh dear, this is so terrible. There's a coat I love. And I've always said, honestly, if there was a fire, I'm taking that coat with me. And it's an Italian company. They're called Parajumpers, and I just love this coat. I adore this coat. It's like a khaki coat. It's a bit of a raincoat, but it's not. It's fairly stylish. It's traveled the world with me. This coat has, and it packs up and it pulls out and it always looks great. And I would grab that coat. So I've got the coat, a bear, and some pictures. And Mark and Soho are outside on the pavement. I'm happy with that.
Good answer. That coat has really good memories.
Yeah. I haven't had it that long. I've had it probably about 5 years, but it's just a great coat. It's a great coat. I've never seen one I like so much.
There you go. It has to be the things you love.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to ask you one separate thing. It's called a
Yeah.
quick fire round of
Oh,
questions.
yes, I saw those. Yeah.
Yep. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Text or talk?
Talk.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Writing or presenting?
Presenting.
Morning or night person?
Morning.
Taxi or walk?
Depends where I'm going.
Home or abroad?
Home.
Glass half empty or glass half full?
Full.
Laptop or mobile phone?
Mobile phone.
Walking or running?
Walking.
Interiors or fashion?
Interiors.
Morning or children's TV?
Morning TV.
Eating in or dining out?
Dining out.
Locked in or locked out?
Locked in.
And the final one is 2020 or 2021?
Live in the now, 2020.
Good answer. Thank you so much, Anthea, for joining me today.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
And I can't wait to buy your new book.
Thank you.
And we will be in touch.
Well, now next time I'm at your London office or around there going on one of my little jogs, I'm going to pop in for a nice.
You better. You must pop in. That's a date. That's a definite.